Hello, hello, and welcome to Playing Hide and Seek. I'm your co-host, Alana Heim. I'm here with Sunshine Lane and Jacqueline Kane, and today we're bringing you a whole new conversation. And today's topic, I'm going to get us started with the safety myth. Why playing it safe keeps us stuck. And if you've seen any of our previous conversations, playing hide and seek really is all about where are we hiding? Where are we not sharing our truth, our voice, connecting with our inner voice, dealing with trauma? Even our recent episode, we talked about how our 3-year-old is still in charge. So there's so many different things that we experience in our life that condition us to behave, react, respond, share, or stay quiet and stay hiding. So I'm just going to have you each briefly share a little bit about yourself. So I'll start with you, Sunshine.
Hello, Alana. Hello, Jacqueline. Thank you for having me here today. I am Sunshine Lane, and I am an international medium and energy healer and spiritual life coach and author. So thank you so much for having me here today.
Yay. I always enjoy our time together. So excited to dig into something new. Jacqueline.
Yeah, so hey everybody, I'm happy to be here too. I'm Jacqueline Kane and I help people heal their bodies and even triple their income. And I love these conversations because s- I think everybody's health issue and stepping into their power issue is about feeling safe enough to speak up and be seen and heard their way without all the programming and the conditioning that we took on from our parents, our caregivers. And most people don't really realize that's what they're doing. Like you talked a little bit, we were having a conversation about people who just talk to fill the space, right? They're filling that space because silence for some reason doesn't feel safe to them. So those are the people who talk and talk and talk and sometimes even get really loud, right? Because somewhere they were programmed to believe that they weren't listened to, that nobody hears them. So they talk really loud. Um, and it's mostly because those parts of us are still wounded. So it's a really, really great topic. And you see it in children, you see it in relationships, um, people taking things the wrong way, people overreacting. So there's so many ways that this really shows up. It's a really important topic.
Yeah, I'm glad that we get to have it. And I know for me serving as a cosmic prosperity activator, and I come from the financial industry and deal a lot with money and finances, and communication's a big part of our financial arena, although that was a taboo topic. So that can be a conversation we definitely have another time. And yet, safety is such a big piece when it does come to money, finances, relationships. Where do I feel safe? How do I feel safe in my body, in this work, in this world? And I think the piece that I want to kind of start off is not everyone knows about the chakras, and that root chakra, the foundational piece, really at the base of our spine, like it's our foundation. And knowing the world is really chock full of fear and scarcity and lack, we don't always feel safe in this world. And so that piece of even financially, it's like, do you want security, right? Do you want that safety net to catch you, or do you want freedom? And we've always kind of polarized the two to say, well, you can't have both. And I know that that's the lie. That's what we're collapsing right now on the planet. We can have both. And so if we don't feel safe on the planet, in our body, doing whatever we're doing, then we're going to have learned behaviors. Like you brought up the example already, Jacqueline, of, maybe silence really doesn't feel safe for people. And they have to fill the space and take up the space and just feel like life is still moving or things are still happening. I don't know, because that is not my safety. I'm really on the opposite, where to feel safe, I usually go inward and hide and don't always speak. And so today, just knowing that there's this safety myth of we can play it safe, but what does playing it safe even mean? And then if we are playing it safe, where have you been stuck? So I just I'll go back to you, Jacqueline, because I know you already started talking about this side and you got to see this in action recently. But what is it that you want to help our listeners start to look for in the way of like defining even safety?
Mm. So really it's starting with looking at the environment you were raised in, right? For me, I was raised in chaos and dysfunction, and I had no idea that I was constantly repeating that because that's what's comfortable. That's what's familiar to me and my nervous system, right? Because that's what I lived in day after day after day for years and decades. So I'm conditioned. That's safety for me, which is pretty sad, right? It took me decades to figure it out to attract the right coaches and mentors that opened my eyes to this and then helped me change it. So now that I see it, when I watch my grandsons being raised, I'm trying to give them all a space of just calm and peace, right? Which is what everybody wants, but how do we achieve it? And so awareness is always the first step. What were you raised in? When you look back at your family environment, how would you describe them? Would you describe it chaotic, dysfunction, hardship, struggle? Like those, when you're raised in that environment, you learn that I've got to hustle, I've got to push, I've got to like keep moving 24/7 to make some money, right? Which creates burnout, overwhelm. So, one, let's just talk about what are you living with right now? Are you living with physical pain? Are you living with being in debt? And get clear in how are you describing? Really look at your life and how does it feel? That's the very first step for people.
Yeah, beautiful. Sunshine. Would you like to share?
Well, thank you, Jacqueline, for what you were just sharing. And that is like, we have to meet where we're at. And we seem to keep so chaotic and busy that we don't necessarily do that. So it's really important to take the time and like go in and have like an acceptance and awareness of what is transpiring, where you're at. It could be as simple as what I'm doing right now is not working. I need a little bit of support outside of that, right? Or, um, you know, when it comes to your voice, what I'm doing right now isn't working, right? People might be thinking that you're just not interested if you're not speaking, or you know, you're however they're labeling it. We have to know that truth about ourselves, right? We have to know about what we're feeling, what we're trying to communicate, what we would like to say, right? We are so conditioned, or society, kind of right from the get-go teaches us that everything out on the outside is what will fill us up, right? Everything that we do on the outside is what is important. And it's ass backwards, right? We need to do everything from the inside and then outside. And it is such a distortion to think that, we put responsibility or we put expectations on others to know us better, or without communication, know what we're thinking or how we're feeling, when we can't even relate a lot of times if we don't have that self-awareness, right? So it comes back to, that is the more that we don't know ourselves and put it in the hands of somebody else, we are staying stuck, right? We're staying in the family orientations that aren't even our belief systems, right? That we have the opportunity and then empowerment when we're here to be healing for the future.
I
So
love
thank you, Alana.
I love this just because it really is, again, when we're stuck, we played it safe, but then the safety took over. And then we thought we felt good in that. But what we're all realizing right now on the planet as things are speeding up, as more and more things are being flung at you all at once, that your safety is starting to go, but I can't do this anymore. I can't stay stuck. And so, what's been coming up for me in this regard is I call it looping. And you're on the hamster wheel and you're looping. And to me, like, just so you know, I'm logical, but I'm not. And I don't necessarily, it's not my favorite. Most people go, "What? What do you mean? Is that your favorite?" Well, I see how logic loops. I see how habits form, and it's all because of logic, right? It is that repetition. And yet, if I want to be more of, let's say, the abstract and the creative and the right brain, it's all about being fluid and being in flow. And if you stick me on a hamster wheel with this habit, that's like, oh, this is going to make you successful and confident. You're going to do the same shit over and over. And I'm looping, right? You just put me on the hamster wheel, and I'm like, you know how when the wheel keeps going, but then you're not, and you see the human like kind of fall and that like they're not just running. I want off. And I think there's a lot of us that are feeling this. And looping is this very thing where maybe we did live in a certain environment and we just repeated the pattern. We got stuck in the habit of, okay, for me, playing safe meant playing small and being in observation mode and watching things unfold and just keeping my mouth quiet because if I brought it up, now somebody's going to get triggered and now there's an emotional response and now I'm the bad guy. Like this is my story that I've looped in. And so it's this constant ability to go around and see where am I replaying? Where is it deja vu again and again, right? Because deja vu is that thing where you're like, oh, this is weird. I feel like I've done this before. Hello, our life is deja vu all the time when you're constantly like waking up and doing your same routine. That's deja vu. But again, it's more that like right brain way of seeing it. It's kind of, it feels different. But this is what Sunshine's talking about. You got to start from the inside, not the outside. When you start from the inside, you're going to have this awareness that goes, "Oh, I don't want to be on that hamster wheel today. I don't want to have that loop again. I want to do something different." So, let's talk about this aspect of, I'll start with you, Jacqueline. When we are stuck, how can people start to really clue into that awareness and then make a change? Because that's the big part. Like the awareness is going to help you to see it, but when you want to play it safe or small or big and you've got to go in the other direction, that doesn't always feel safe. And so that's the scary part. So what wisdom do you have to share?
Yeah, so um, it doesn't feel good, right? It doesn't feel good to feel these things. Um, so once you become aware, then you have to decide, okay, what can I do? You need tools. So many people are stressed right now, and you need, which are causing them to spin and just stay stuck, and because that's normal for them. So then we want to create tools. We want to learn tools. So get paper and pen and just start writing everything you're feeling down. Get it out of your body, right? Because it's an energy that you are holding on to that you all of a sudden got triggered in. So just start writing. How are you feeling? How do you feel when these things show up? That when you realize that my life's not where I want it to be, get paper and pen and just start writing so that you can start changing the energy, start changing the thoughts that come through the mind, right? And there's a bunch of other tools you can connect with any of us on all social media platforms to learn tools. Then you have to start deciding, what do I want? Where do I want to go? And and I always recommend to my clients that they start saying the universe is always looking out for me. When you start saying the universe always has my back, how does life get any better than this during a bad day and a good day? And you start trusting that, things will start shifting faster and faster. Um, and the other thing of why we're in this situation is mostly because some of the things you were talking about, Alana, when we were raised, people didn't like what we said, right? Maybe we triggered somebody and we created beliefs that I can't be me. So you took on whole new habits and patterns, which helps you survive through those childhood, teenager, young adult years. But then when you're 40, 50, 60, you're like, that's just not working for me. And this whole batter comes on of who am I? What do I like? I've attracted people that upset me and trigger me and don't even hear me. And what do I do to get out of it? That's the inner battle saying, I want something more. It's time for me to be heard. Um, so the information we're giving you here is leading you up to hopefully not end up with fibromyalgia, cancer, something in your 40, 50, 60 years, or arthritis, because you've suppressed being who you are, suppressed all of that emotion. Um, so yeah, there's so much to unravel, right? But after that awareness, what are you going to do with your emotions? How are you going to get to know who you are on a daily, consistent basis?
I love that you're sharing this because this is why we don't know who we are. Because the conditioning was always louder than you. And
Mm,
your reaction to what kept showing up and what conditioned you to be was never you. And
mm,
so now when these emotions get louder and your pain gets intolerable, that's how it actually becomes easier to start to make the shift. Although you're still in that limbo place of like it being more of a, and just like losing it or releasing and having eruptions and parts
yeah,
of yourself go, wait a minute, this isn't me, even though you've told yourself your whole life, this is me, no one
yeah,
listens to me, this is just how it is. And so then how do we start to change our behavior and show up differently, which means maybe if I was always observing, now I know I can ask a question to engage, to
mhm,
say, hey, do you want to know what I think? And
mhm,
maybe I get to be a part of a conversation, whereas before I really took myself out of it to
yeah,
play safe. And that doesn't work anymore.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
definitely time for people to become who they are and be themselves. It'll be a
Yes.
much happier planet when everybody starts doing that.
Yes, I agree. Sunshine, I want to hear your wisdom.
Well, there's so much to this topic, right? And I love what you were both just sharing. And I find that as we listen and we're working with people, a lot of things that are coming up is that I am seeing and um, is comparison. And it probably is because we don't have that safety net right now, a foundation, because all our chakras, our systems have changed, and also too we've evolved here in the physical, right? So we are a little bit spinny no matter what we're doing. And with that, there comes so if we don't acknowledge how we're feeling, we have different bodies and systems, then you know the universe, the oneness keeps sending it to us so we can heal it and heal it. And all we have to do is like accept, this is what I'm feeling. I have every right to feel this, and I can use my voice around it. We are there. To me, there's never any negative or positive or right or wrong or evil. And what's the other word? Evil. Whatever it is, there. it's all on learning experience. It's all on experiencing as a collective. And if we're not getting it and replaying it, and it has to be shown through the universe by other people, other situations, that's when it feels chaotic. Um, and doesn't change because we're trying, it's kind of like red flags within ourselves, right? What we're doing isn't working. Woohoo! We got to make some changes. Okay, we're screaming at you now because you're just not listening. So everything gets more complex. So question is, what you're doing, is it working? Like what you're desiring, what you would love to bring forth, have you reached that? And as of like, why not, right? If you've had a lot of patience and it's been for years and years and years, a lot of people like to say, oh, the universe works against me. Oh, it's a form of luck. It has absolutely nothing to do with that, right? It's time for us to wake up and we are in charge of all that happens to us, right? In so many aspects and forms, right? Like just it's important for our voice is vibration and frequency. If we are doing all things through the intention of love, where are we going to get wrong? Really? Like Jacqueline, you had just mentioned, right? Like, the whole world can change if we were just to vibrate you know, love vibration, right? Instead of all the other, you think of what is out there right now at this moment, what would be the biggest feeling that people have is probably fear, right? Fear of the unknown. The matrix is breaking down. What's happening, kind of thing. So that is what we're putting out there in that oneness, and that is what's being put forth. So if we step out of that and we're not feeding that vibration, chocolates and cookies and treats and candy, right? We're not going to be in that form of what's coming back. So our voice is our soul. It's our freedom. It's our truth. And it's so important to use our voice. And if it's out of the intention of love, there is nothing that we can do. Yes, maybe it is going to trigger people, right? When people are close to us and all of a sudden we say something and they get defensiveness, right? We're just thinking, what? It's us. But maybe in them, they have stuff that they got to work on that's separate than us, right? Maybe it's a form when they get defensiveness as, it's attached to their anger and we might not recognize, but it may not have anything to do with us. But maybe in a way, smidgenly wise, it just helped them heal, right? With what we had said or shared or expressed. And that's why we have a voice. When we're here, we have a voice. When we're up there, it's not the same. It's so much harder to do the work from up there than it is when we're here. So that speaking our truth and being confident in our voice is a very important gift that we do have, right? It's our soul connection. It's our everything. But if we're using our voice to lash out and be nasty and get back, and you know, that's not what we're talking about here, right? We're talking about using our voice with love and compassion, acceptance of oneself, of pure love for oneself, and acceptance of others. It would be pretty boring if we judged everybody and expected everybody to be the same. We're all unique. No two of us are the same. We're all here doing the same thing as far as love and healing and evolving, but not on the same journey.
Yeah. And it is the uniqueness that allows us all to be our own expression of the oneness. Because I'm you and you are me, and we're all connected, but you getting to show me a part of myself happens, right? There's times that I can see something in you and I really go, wow, that's incredible. And sometimes we can look at it like, oh, but I could never be that. And yet, what if I can? And I can. And so everything that you were just sharing, Sunshine, with regard to, how are we using our voice and expressing coming from that place of love? That's not always easy for all of us, right? That's the reflection part after this experience when you go, oh, shoot. I just really yelled at this person. But then how often do people actually look at their own behavior to recognize, wow, I was in the wrong, or not even right or wrong, I was really upset and I could have responded differently. So bringing in the awareness, starting from that point that Jacqueline mentioned, the integration after an experience is so important. And I am very emotional, and emotional energy and awareness needs more time to process. And I will tell you that when we don't give ourselves enough time to process a situation and experience some event that happened, we actually loop right back into that addiction or that adrenaline that's like, I kind of need that again. And so if I'm not allowing myself to look at it and reflect and go, wow, I could have done this differently, I'm not going to know how to do it differently next time. So, next time is where I can bring in more love. I can take a breath. I can pause. I can start to even just be aware in my body of what's going on. Because if I'm, for me personally, playing safe and why it's kept me stuck means I've kept the energy stuck in my body. And it is getting to a point where, just like Jacqueline said, if it continues, I'm going to manifest some illness or some disease or some pain because it has been stuck and stagnant inside of me. When I'm in a situation where I wanted to play small, but I know I need to speak up, but then I never did speak up, but I'm in that limbo now that we're talking about where it's uncomfortable. I'm not quite sure what to do, and if I'm not really aware, I might just lash out with the hurtful words. Unlike what Sunshine was saying was come from love and right, I'm not there because this energy is finally going to get to be seen and heard. I can't keep playing safe because that energy is just going to continue to harm me. And then it might harm others if I don't have this awareness, if I haven't started to process, if I hadn't started to notice, like, okay, my heart's racing, my stomach hurts right now. Maybe I still in that moment can't speak up, but I can choose to exit and I can go walk or I can breathe and then I can come back. Maybe I have a clear energy field and now I can speak my truth or ask permission or whatever it may be. Um, but I know that this is the dance for all of us. So I want to know from each of you in your life, can you give an example where you have played it safe in your version of life, in your regard, and it's kept you stuck? And how has that impacted you? So, Jacqueline, whatever example you may have, just so people can start to put it into perspective of, okay, what does it mean to be stuck and how does that feel? Or, whatever you have to share.
Sure, I can give a few. There's been many examples in my personal life. I, whenever anybody like insulted me in front of people or reacted to me and treated me poorly, there were times I didn't say anything. I never spoke up. I let it just go by. But that built up over time to the point where I would just lose it. That anger, that resentment would come out somehow. Um, or in my business where I'm like, nobody needs to hear this information. Nobody wants to get out of pain or make more money, right? So I would I would believe those things and not do videos or not get on social media consistently. And there's still times in my life where there's just too much going on in family life where I'm like, I don't have the energy to do a video. So I'm not going to do it because everything's about our energy, right? Especially in business. Um, and it has hurt me at times, right? Because I wasn't making the money. I wasn't attracting the people I really wanted to attract. So learning all these tools that we have to become aware of it. And what I recommend to everybody is have an energetic ritual, um, a practice for yourself so that we can constantly notice and become aware, because once we become aware, we have the tools, we can shift. We don't have to stay in that feeling stuck energy. It's shorter and shorter. So at every level, every up level you do as a human being, I think most human beings want to grow, right? We want to like evolve and we want to like see what's possible. Um, so we have to face that fear. We have to face that scared little part of us that's like staying safe over and over again, of not speaking up. But the more comfortable you feel, the we have to take baby steps in the beginning, and you get out there and you take those baby steps and you speak up to somebody and say, "Hey, I didn't like it when you did that." Or thank you so much for opening the door where nobody's ever even seen me going through a door before, right? All these little baby steps help you to get to the place where you feel comfortable and safe in the complete opposite of what you grew up in. So you're comfortable putting a video up there, speaking up, being on stage, doing retreats, right? Like we've all done. Um, all these things, and your life just becomes so much more peaceful, confident, fun, and you attract things that you've always desired with very little effort. So, yeah, I hope that resonates for people.
Thank you for sharing. Even though it makes it like sadness comes like hearing you say that you endured that over and over. And yet I also know it's why you're you, that you got to shift through that, and that's the beautiful part that we don't see is like you had to trudge through the mud and have shit flung at you and all these things where it's like for you to finally be like, no,
No.
you don't get to do this anymore. And then you
Yeah.
get to show up as you, more authentic, more like really able to share your heart, because even though your heart was like crushed, you got to learn how to also keep it open.
And you learn how to communicate, right? Because nobody teaches us how to communicate. And I think we're seeing that play out everywhere.
True.
There was an incident with a couple friends and they were going back and forth on text messaging. And I'm like, things get misconstrued in a text message, in an email. Pick up the phone and communicate and create a win-win situation, because you don't want to burn bridges. I burned way too many bridges and it doesn't work. If we can all get to that place of have conscious conversations, right? Yeah, they're hard, but every one you have lets you know you can have another one and still keep friendships and step into love, like Sunshine says, and really feel that love and expand it and grow and create it on the planet, right?
Yeah, to be the ripple of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Sunshine. What example do you have to share?
Ooh. Um, yeah, it's a lot. So yes, we all have. One thing I'd like to mention is that, for and I can't speak for all of us, but I do believe here, everything that we share is something that we've experienced and we've lived through, and we would just like to share our experiences as far as the tools that and the support that we've got, and how so it's not always going to be roses and rainbows and butterflies and wings. But the thing is, what Alana's talking about today is noticing when we're stuck and stepping out of that, right? And growing. So personal experiences. I know everybody on earth gets to, we all have to learn to speak and walk and all that stuff. But I was born with cerebral palsy. So each word that I have, or each time I move my body, I have to consciously put energy into that and think about it. I'm not saying it as a poor me, but I was raised and supported as I get to, and to be me definitely really helped me in my journey here. But I could still feel the judgments, right? I could feel the energy of like, oh. she's wearing high heels today and she's dragging her leg or whatever it may be. So I was always would have been referred to as quiet or shy probably when I was younger. But I would speak, definitely for sure. And I was always able to separate kind of thing. Like, okay, they have their experience, I have my experience, especially at a younger age. But to talk about personal experiences, I worked with abused women and children for 14 years. I had not one car accident, but two car accidents that changed my life. And because of the cerebral palsy and stuff. But when I was working at the shelter, I got to a point where I was doing programs for children and women that had witnessed and kind of going into agencies and schools and all over the place. So I knew that was changing up for me because I got to a point where I couldn't be myself. I was sneaking things in, right? Energetically, teaching people about feelings, right? And using tuning rods and putting it into the program. But I couldn't be myself. It's not something like in a board meeting I could stand up and talk about, right? So as soon as I felt that shutting down, I knew that, maybe it was time for a change kind of thing. I couldn't speak this necessarily anymore. And I wasn't taking empowerment in that. So car accidents happened in my life to be able to detour me on like, whoo, I changed needs. So that's the chaos. I knew I didn't take action. I needed to change my marriage. I needed to change my career, and I did neither one of them. So kind of chaos. It took me on a different direction, a lot of pain, a lot of beautiful lessons that I'm able to experiences that I'm able to share with people, right? That's where the cellular releases came from. But it's always been important to me to be able to voice, right? To be able to share. And as we do so, you were talking about relationships, Jacqueline, too. People come and go. Like I raised the kids saying, hey, the people in your life now won't be in your life, necessarily the people in kindergarten won't be in your life when you're in your 30s or 20s because we kind of outgrow people because everybody is a reflection of what we are to learn and heal. So when we outgrow that, our relationships change. It doesn't mean we have to leave the relationship in chaos and awful stuff. We can always wish them best and all of that stuff. But it's just a beautiful thing when we have the courage and strength to know that we cannot remain the same. Scientifically, you're talking about intellectual, like with your brain and stuff, right? Each cell at every moment is changing. It cannot be the same. Everything, our oxygen, our heartbeat, our rate, but yet we fight to remain the same. And if we can, rise above that and know that in no shape or form are we the same in every moment. When we start this call, we're not the same. As we woke up this morning, we're not the same. As we get off this call, it is impossibly, right? But we strive so much. So if we can get to this just mindset to accept ourselves, to wake up in that shift on today, I am going to do something I have never did before. I'm going to have the first, right? Just thinking of that. When we were kids and we woke up, we had curiosity, wonder, and surprise. But as adults, that we have to do this. We have to do that. We woke up this morning. Right? We got to shift that, right? We woke up, our eyes can see. We have legs, we can pee, we can have a shower, we can eat, we can taste food, right? The gratitude. Well, who are we going to experience? What are we going to talk about today? Who am I going to hug? Who am I going to get to touch? Who am I going to get to spend time with? What's the first that I'm going to do? I actually towed a boat in a kayak yesterday. I would have never thought I could physically do that, right? I paddled like a huge boat, paddled and then towed it with a, kayak. Who would have thought? Me? What? Right? Not all by myself, but I was part of it. And I could have looked at that situation completely different, right? Oh God, I'm so sore and I wasn't up to it and I was going to be relaxing. And well, I got to do that. Who would have thought, right? So it's all in mindset. It's all on what is in our soul, in our heart, and to do things from there. But that thought of just like, oh my goodness, what is the first I'm never have done before? What am I going to do for the first time? That can shift so much. So thank you, Alana. I love this topic today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sunshine and Jacqueline. And again, it, the safety that we think we need, right? It's almost like we give all our power to feeling safe. But then where is that safety limiting you in your expression of your potential or even striving towards that potential? Because it's just the same as a lot of times people are too afraid to die. But really, what that means is they're playing so small or they're playing safe in their life because they're actually so afraid to live. And what if we live? I could get hurt. I like, what if I really live? Like the time I went skydiving, I went and did it and I didn't I didn't tell my boss at the time. I don't Probably because that's how I've done things. Like I don't always tell people because I don't want their no and their fear and all their stuff that's like, what are you doing? And so when I came back and I was like, oh my God, I went skydiving. It was amazing. And the first thing out of her mouth was, what? You went skydiving? You could have died. I'm all, but I didn't. Hello, I'm here. Like, all right. And she was so mad because if something had happened to me in that moment, this was her fear and finally showing that I was appreciated, but I didn't know it. But that thought of something could have happened to me, then I had meaning, or then so this happens a lot in our life where we go do the thing and now somebody else is upset about it. So we either don't go do the thing. And, it's we're not here to make everyone else happy. That's what sunshine meant when we're in the world that way, we're externalizing and then going inward. And you have to start from your heart and your truth and your knowing. And I will tell you, to come from that place of like, I'm going to go do it. I had such certainty, such knowing I was supposed to do it, where when you're in that space, there is no fear. And there's also no death that's going to come, right? Like, I was not about to be like, oh God, I'm going and like, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. I'm going to create that, like it's my time to go because, yep, the universe is like, yes, it is. But I knew it wasn't. So there is that part of playing it safe. There's the risk involved. It's the same with money, it's the same with relationships. Are you willing to take the risk? But I will tell you, when you know with absolute certainty from within your heart you are here to do something or say something, there's no risk. It's absolutely meant to be. And the last piece I want to add before we end, I highly recommend everyone watch Love on the Spectrum. It's a Netflix show and it's of kids on the autistic spectrum. And these are older, like 20s, 30s. There was even a guy that's like 60 who is on the spectrum. And they are so genuine. They are so pure of heart. They are so full of love. And their ability to communicate is very simple and very direct. So it's like if this guy went on a date and he came home and his family's like, "Oh my gosh, tell us about this. Tell us about this." And it's like that. And it was already he was sensitive. It was too much and he was like, "I don't like that. I don't want to talk about it." That's it. That's what we can say. That's what we can do. And yet we think that it's not okay to point out to someone that doesn't feel good. I don't like when you say that. Please stop. You know what I mean? It's in that moment, even for Jacqueline, when she was younger and she's like being verbally abused. And it's like, I don't like that. We don't even say that. We have such a hard time. Like, why can't I just speak my truth? because I'm afraid that you're now going to take offense because I just called you out in a very nice, calm way of like, you're kind of bullying me. But we could even say that. And that's what I see in these younger generations. They really do speak up the way that some of us were conditioned not to. So we have this safety net. And where is it time to take the net off? Because it's actually been like controlling you, limiting you, holding you back. And it's time for you to shine. Because as much as my friends here shared their hearts and some of their examples, and it brings up the emotions out for me because I know we've all been there. We've all had things happen to us for us. And I've been on both sides, right? I've been the victim and the perpetrator. I've played all the roles, and we all have. And when you can suddenly have that compassion, that just helps in such a deeper way in the moment to change the pattern, to break the loop, to get off the hamster wheel, to do it different. Because your safety doesn't mean that you have to be limited in who you are and you're here to shine. So I hope you've enjoyed our conversation today. I'm so grateful for Sunshine and Jacqueline being here, and we send you much love. And if you want to comment below and share this episode if it was helpful for you, and if there's any other kind of topic that you want us to have a conversation about, please share that too. Mwah! Love you so much. Bye, everyone.